Hello from a very warm and sunny Gran Canaria, she says, sitting with her jumper on. I am currently writing a funeral ceremony, and I wanted to share something that I've been reflecting on in regards to the work we do as ceremonialists or celebrants, whatever you want to call us. Because yesterday I got an email via Rites and Rituals Scotland from somebody who wants to become a celebrant. And in his email, he was saying that his interest was really sparked after attending a number of funeral ceremonies that were led by celebrants, and he described them as being excellent. But as he was experiencing that, watching them, he was thinking to himself, I could do that. I'm used to standing up in meetings. I feel I could stand up there confidently and I could read clearly, etc., etc. And this is where people sometimes misunderstand what it is that a celebrant or a ceremonialist does. So I'm currently working with a family who are just going through the toughest time imaginable. They have lost their daughter after losing their son just a few years ago. So now all that's left is the mum and the sister. And they are lost and they're angry. Of course they are, anybody would be. But when you're working with people who are lost and are heartbroken, it's not just about gathering stories and memories and making them sound nice. And it's not just about being a good public speaker and being able to, stand up in a crematorium confidently. Instead, it's about saying, how can my words, my presence, and the space that I hold bring even a tiny bit of comfort and meaning in the middle of all this pain? How do I bring somebody's story to life in such a way that it makes them feel close again, even just for a moment, so that their loved ones can say goodbye? How do I honour this mystery, this threshold, this final chapter that we all must cross? Because this work, this rite of passage, is the most profound rite of passage we humans will ever take. And to walk beside a family as they navigate that, and to help them to remember, to help them to breathe, to help them to feel held, is one of the deepest privileges of my life. But one of the biggest challenges in all this is, how do you guide people to step into ceremony in a society that has almost forgotten what ceremony is really for? Because we seem to have lost sight of this ancient human way of marking change, this way of holding each other through the moments that transform us. And most families don't arrive at that moment when they lose somebody. They don't arrive knowing how to do that anymore, and that's not their fault. It's just simply the world we live in. But part of your role as a ceremonialist is to help them remember. Well, certainly as a rites and ritual ceremonialist, is to help them to remember that. It's to create a space where they can pause and they can breathe and they can gather and they can let the ritual carry what words alone can't. A space where love and grief and meaning can coexist even in the darkest moments. And yes, sometimes that meaning comes from acknowledging the pain and the rawness and the unfairness, instead of just trying to, smooth over it with soft, gentle words. Sometimes it comes from reflecting the love that still exists in the room. And sometimes it's about connecting people to their own inner strength, or their shared memories, or just giving them permission to feel whatever it is that they are feeling. And always, it's about reminding people that this was a life that mattered. hers was a story that mattered, and that she changed the world just by being in it. And yes, we do that through very carefully curated and considered words, but also by bringing our whole selves to the moment. This funeral ceremony that I'm writing, I sent the family an email to say that I was sitting writing it while listening to the sounds of the waves lap on the beach, because she loved the beach. She bought a house by the beach. She never went any holidays unless it had a beach involved. And they came straight back saying, oh my goodness, she would have loved that. Being a ceremonialist can be so challenging in so many ways, but it's also where meaning reveals itself in the most beautiful way possible. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.